Coucou everyone! Hey, it's me Matt, and I am so happy to welcome you here to Matt Made. It's the very first episode, and I'm going to show you some awesome things. I hope you all watched my intro video. If you didn't watch it, I will link it down below so you can all watch it. And I'm going to tell you where I'm from, what I'm about, where I am right now, which is in France, if you are wondering. Just an update on myself. I recently got my engagement ring, and I'm super excited about that. So I've been engaged now for about 2 months, and the ring finally came in the mail from the USA. But that's not important because today I am going to be showing you my very first recipe, which is stuffed peppers. So stuffed peppers are really important to me, A, because they're cheap, they're super cheap, they're easy to make, I can make them with ingredients in my house, I can go out and do whatever. And it's a recipe from the person who really taught me to cook, my mom. Shout out to you, Deb. So, today for these stuffed peppers, I'm going to show you some of the ingredients. So the first ingredient is obviously a green pepper. This is going to make a recipe for about 2 stuffed peppers, and make sure your peppers are big enough and they have a flat bottom so they can stand on their own. We have some white rice. You can use brown rice, you can use whatever rice you like. This is white rice that I've already pre-cooked. We have about a pound of ground beef. You can use ground turkey, you can use ground pork, you can use ground chicken, so some kind of ground meat. Right here I have organic ground beef. I have a tomato sauce. Now to make it a little cheaper, what I've done is I've just bought some tomato pulp and mixed in my own Italian seasonings. And speaking of seasonings, I'm obviously going to throw in a few seasonings. We're going to throw in some parsley. We're going to throw in some garlic powder, salt and pepper. And to bind it all together, we're going to throw in an egg. So now we're going to cut and gut and boil the pepper, the very first step in our process. So come on down with me and I'll show you what to do. So if you look at this one, I've already cut, I've already gut, and it's a little greener, so I've already boiled it. So the first thing you want to do is take the pepper and put it on the side, and with whatever knife you like, you want to cut off. I only have small knives here because I'm poor, so I'm just going to cut the top off. Cut the top off. You want to keep the top because that's going to be important to the step. And if you see these innards, you just want to take it with your hand and pull your innards out. You're going to gut your pepper, okay? And it's always good to have a little plastic bag on the side so you don't have to walk over to a trash can if you're feeling lazy. Make sure you get everything out of there. If 1 or 2 seeds get stuck in there, it's really not a big deal. So I'm going to set this aside. So now that we've cut and gut our other pepper, you're just going to go to a pot of boiling water. It can be in a big pot, it can be in a little pot like this, whatever pot your small apartment provided you with. And you're going to take your pepper and you're just going to put it in there, submerging it fully for about a minute. And I'm just going to toss it with a fork, let it sit in there for about a minute. This is going to soften up the pepper, so when you cook it in the oven in the end, you're not actually cooking the pepper, you're cooking more of the inside ingredients. So come back when this is done, I'll show you the peppers and we'll start putting the filling together. So one thing I really love about this recipe, A, it's easy, B, it's cheap, C, the only thing you have to do on the stovetop is what we've done. The rest you can do on a table, a counter, the floor if you can't afford a table, and then throw it in your oven. So right now we're going to be putting together the filling. So I've already got here my chopped remains of my peppers. I'm going to take off my engagement ring so I don't get it in there because I'm going to be touching raw meat. You're going to take your ground meat, here I'm using beef, you're just going to throw it in there. Okay. Next you're going to take your rice, your pre-cooked rice, you're going to throw it in there. Okay. At this point you want to mix everything up because the only thing else going in there is some kind of sauce. So you're just going to take a spoon, or you can use your hands. I will be using my hands later to kind of show you what this is all about. Alright, so you don't have to mix it fully yet because that's going to come with everything. Next, you want to add your sauce. Now, this is about half of a jar of sauce, okay? And I'm not really specific with measurements because I think that you really should just use whatever you have. I've never been one for measurement specifics. I also forgot to mention that you want to add ketchup. Now, trust me, this sounds like a weird ingredient, but it's actually super good in there. It gives it a tangy sweetness. You'll taste it and you'll thank me later. So you just want to throw about maybe 2 tablespoons of ketchup in there. There'll be a recipe that I'll post below when you're watching this video, but this is for you to watch, okay? So, some freshly ground pepper, obviously, salt and pepper. You have to add those layers of flavor. I sound really fancy saying that, so that's why I say it. A little garlic powder, probably about a teaspoon, okay? and parsley. Probably about a teaspoon of parsley. Now you can...
Oh, I love parsley.
You can add... Thanks, Tyler. You can add whatever spices you want, but these are the ones I suggest. You can add an Italian seasoning, you can add whatever you want. And then finally, we're going to add an egg to bind all this filling together. You need some kind of binder. I've heard of people using breadcrumbs for this kind of thing too. It kind of goes together like a meatloaf. And if you notice, the meat I'm using is, ding ding ding, it's raw. So the meat is actually going to cook inside the peppers, okay? Now, I'm not a very meat cook, as you will notice over all these videos that I'll be producing, but I can tell you that the food is going to look and taste delicious at the end of the video. So we're just going to mix this all together, and when it's all mixed together, I want you to come back and we will stuff them and throw them in the oven.
The sound.
Okay, so now it's time for the most important part of this whole process. We're going to stuff them. If you look down here, I've already taken the liberty of stuffing one so you don't have to watch me stuff things too many times. So as you can see, it's heaping. So let's get to it. So you're going to take your filling and you want to put it in your pepper. So that's why these peppers really, really have to be sturdy, because I have done it many times. I made this recipe so many times and my peppers are too small and too weak. And they just topple over, and then I get like a saucy meatloaf in the pan rather than a stuffed pepper. So it's really, really important to stuff these peppers to their brim, A, so they stay up, and B, so they are stuffed and you have enough to eat. And let me tell you that this is actually going to fill you up. You'll only need one of these, okay? So there it is, it's stuffed to the brim. I have some extra filling left over too, and I can do whatever I want with it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two stuffed peppers and I'm going to throw them in the oven at about 350 degrees in the US, here in France at about 180 degrees for about an hour. Okay, but halfway through you're going to meet me back and I'm going to show you what we do with them halfway through. My thing fell. Okay, so I've taken it out. So what I did was in the oven for an hour. Half hour later, I took it out and I poured some tomato sauce on it to make it a little more wet. And then 15 minutes later, I put some cheese on it to melt it on top of. So this is our final product. This is the good standing pepper. Thanks for watching, everyone. À tout.